Buying a part-trained dog. What is a part-trained dog? Hi, my name's Charlie Thorburn. Welcome to Mordor Gun Dogs. So this video is just inspired by someone very recently, but a conversation I have or an email request I get regularly. Do you have any part-trained dogs for sale? What is a part-trained dog? I mean, if you're going to train a dog to be a sniffer dog to detect drugs and it only kind of does half a job, then I guess that's part trained, isn't it? But if you're buying a dog to be a family pet or a gun dog, it's a much harder thing to put as a kind of in a box. This is a puppy. This is a part trained dog. This is a fully trained dog. Because what's fully trained for one person is not fully trained for someone who's used to winning field trials. What's fully trained for someone is only part trained for somebody else. What's part trained for one person is still probably way better than most dogs you see in the park. And people say, oh yeah, I trained my dog. And you're like, oh, what do you train it to do? Bugger all. Like, you know, you don't want to be rude, but sometimes you're kind of like, part trained to do what? So we have come to the conclusion over time that the training is part of the maturing of the dog as well. So, and what I mean by that is you can train a young dog to do clever tricks, but if they don't have the maturity to handle life going forward, then all that training can just go out the window and you end up with a dog who doesn't remember any of it. If you're buying a dog that's a puppy, clearly it's just a puppy. Now, our puppies, when they go to their new homes, they sit for their food. They generally come when they're called. And if you throw a ball for them, most of them will pick it up and bring it back. It's part trained. Maybe I should charge more for my puppies, because that is more than a lot of dogs do when they're 2 years old, who literally do nothing for their owners. But no, that's just a puppy. Now, that's just what we like to do with our puppies. And that's, you know, I guess what, you know, our standards, that's where we set our standards. But often people will say to us, oh, could I get a dog that's just kind of got the basics? I don't really know what they mean by that. Basics of what? Like understanding what a lead is, but maybe not walking to heel, or knowing what the word sit means, but not really doing it? Or do they want a dog that really walks to heel really well and really sits and stays and really comes when they're called? Those are basic training, I guess. Are they? Not really. Those are the fundamental key things for training. So they're definitely not basic. And regarding part trained versus fully trained, so you want a dog to come back half the time and don't worry about if it doesn't come back the other half of the time. You want it to sit, but only when it wants to, part of the time, because that's part trained. You want a dog to walk to heel part of the time. Kind of doesn't really make any sense. So if you take on a dog, what we think is if you take on a dog that's like 6 months old, they might be able to walk to heel, they might be able to sit, they might be able to stay, but they're like a 6-year-old kid, and the ability to retain that information is pretty limited. And the chances are, if you do nothing with that dog, a few months down the line, it won't remember any of it. And I spoke to a friend of mine the other day who trains dogs, and he's very good at what he does. And he sold someone a dog at 6 months old. And within a few months, the dog was basically back to doing nothing because it hadn't developed and matured enough at the same time as being taught. So the way we see what our dogs develop and trained all at the same time, they get to a point at around a year old where they have the mental maturity to deal with the complexities of life. They also have the level of training to deal with those things, and they've done it enough for long enough that they remember it and it's ingrained, even if their owners do very little to practice it, because that level of maturity and the training they've had both added together create a really nice dog. Now, our dogs at a year old are walking to heel on and off the lead, sitting and staying, coming when they're called, staying close, crate trained. They'll go for that dummy rather than that dummy. They understand what the sit whistle means. Hopefully they don't jump up, and hopefully they don't sort of pee all over your house. Is that a part trained dog? Well, no, it's not. It's a pretty well trained family dog Is it a fully trained gun dog? No, because it's too young. It's not had the life experience of being exposed to shooting and going out on shoots and having all that sort of level of experience. So when we're selling a dog, we're selling it at around a year old or older with more training and more experience. But if I sell someone a fully trained, inverted commas, Labrador at around 20 months old, is that it? Is it not going to get any better? Is it not going to get any more trained? Of course it is. Of course it's going to get better if you do the right things. It's going to gain a huge amount of experience through just going out and working and practicing. And I reckon our dogs are probably at their peak at about 4.5, 5, because until that point, we're kind of working with them. We're insisting on better behavior. We're insisting that we practice things. We're trying to just keep their levels up. They're getting better and better. Their ability to mark gets better. Their ability to handle situations, different situations, whether they're in the shooting field or in a domestic environment, get better and better. And then what you're going to ask is, well, what happens after 5? Well, what happens after 5 is I get soft, basically. I kind of go, oh yeah, they're great. They're like Chino, who many of you seen in our videos. She's normally sort of got her head in here, but she's shut through next door at the moment. I'm not going to start taking her out and telling her to walk to heel properly, because she kind of does it pretty well anyway. She'll walk through the middle of London off a lead like really well. She'll go to the pub and she'll not walk out the door when the door's open. She'll not try and escape. She'll not go through to the pub kitchen. She knows to hang around in the kind of in the bar. She'll come out on a boat and she knows to stay on the boat and not jump overboard. Would a 6-month-old dog do that? No, of course they wouldn't, because they're not mentally mature enough. But have I trained Chino to do that? No, she just kind of got it. She just gets it because she's been encouraged to learn and listen and behave her whole life. And then the video I put out not that long ago, a very short video of me out on a shoot of a group of dogs sitting, waiting for the partridges to come and waiting to be told what to do. And there was old great grandpa Hades just cruising around in the background. He's 12, he's deaf. Like, he doesn't owe me anything. He doesn't need to behave. I don't want him running off, but I know he's not going to run off because he's just an awesome old dog who just totters around and does his own thing now. So that's why probably I have a sort of 4.5, 5-year-old kind of bracket where they're at their peak, because I've still been quite strict with them to that point, and I've not got to the point where I'm like, whatever, get over it, do what you like. I'm not trying to impress anyone with them. I'm not trying to do anything clever. I'm just going, you're a lovely dog and you deserve to have a lovely time. And if occasionally you make a mistake, it's a bit like me. I'm more than occasionally, if you talk to my wife, more than occasionally do I make mistakes the whole bloody time, and I'm 45, so I should definitely know better. So let's just recap. When you're talking to somebody, I know the traditions of sort of the shooting press, you would see an advert for a trained dog, a fully trained dog, a part trained dog, a started dog, a finished dog, depending on where you are in the world. But what you've got to think about more is what's it trained to do? What is it fully trained to do? What is it part trained to do? Is there any point buying a part trained dog? In my view, absolutely bloody zero. You may as well start off with a puppy and not deal with all the mistakes that whoever's part trained it badly has done. What you want to do if you want to get a dog with a good level of training is make sure you get a dog with a good level of training that you can maintain or you can improve on. But if it's trained to walk to heel, it should walk to heel. It shouldn't only part walk to heel. If it's trained to retrieve, it should retrieve to hand, not only part retrieve. Okay, so that's my tearing apart of the old kind of the old sort of system of full trained, part trained, not trained, etc. It's about the level that you want your dog to be at, and that's where you should aim, and not because someone says, oh, that's fully trained. And I've seen lots of fully trained dogs doing naughty things, and I've seen lots of young dogs who you'd probably consider part trained being absolutely awesome. Remember, you get out what you put in. I hope this has all been useful. If not, just you can laugh at me again. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.